Content warning. This series will discuss topics that may bring up painful experiences for you. Please take the time to surround yourself with good medicines. If need be, pause the playback and go for a walk, stretch, have a glass of water, and come back to the show when you feel comfortable. Welcome to the Métis Speaker Series. I'm your host, Darian Kovacs. On this podcast series, we will be exploring learning, healing, and rebuilding within the Métis community. Our goal is to create awareness of and generate discussion about Métis issues, as well as how to heal from and move forward in a healthy way. We hope to reduce Métis invisibility in BC through the personal stories from our Métis community members. This show is brought to you by the Métis Nation of British Columbia and Jelly Marketing.
I couldn't help myself. You gave me everything.
Well, welcome to Métis Voices, a podcast giving Métis people a voice to share about their story and where they're coming from. So our starting question, being Métis, what does it mean to you, Christi?
Oh, well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. I don't really like to do interviews. I'm really, I'm not self-conscious about it or anything like that. I just maybe give other people space to talk. Sometimes I sort of feel like, and I feel like I talk enough or I'm out there enough that I don't need to, take up all the space. Like I say no now about 99% of the time. So, but I'm down to talk about Métis, our nation, our people, our community, our grandmas. I'm down to talk about that anytime. So being Métis, what does it mean? It means that we are connected to the earth. We're connected to the lands and waters where our ancestors walked since time immemorial. It means that we are an Indigenous nation amongst many other nations. It means that we hold a sacred responsibility for protecting the earth and the waters, and that we carry on the traditions and the knowledge from our people, passed down through generations, that we carry on the oral history and the languages of those places where we come from and those people that we come from.
Amazing. Now, being a creator, what does it mean creating to you and the works that you produce?
Well, for me, I don't know about anybody else. Just for me, I know that uh, creating art is something that I've always felt compelled to do since I was a young child. I can remember someone asking me when I was about 7 years old, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Like a kid, another kid. And I remember where we were standing. It was kind of this strange, sort of random memory that I have. And I said, "I'm going to be an artist and a teacher." And I thought, now where did that come from? So sometimes I think like we're all, well, I don't think sometimes, but I know that every single human being is given gifts, and we come prepared with those gifts that we bring when we're born. And I have a feeling that art is the gift that I was given, not necessarily in terms of the skill or in terms of if I'm good or not, just that it's the gift that I was given to do as a job while I'm here. And so creating means fulfilling that 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 which I am driven to do. It's in me, and I can't really stop it. If that makes any sense. It's just
100%.
something I have to do. If I don't do it for a while, it's like I get really out of balance. So I have to create. It's just what I'm compelled to do and what I love to do.
Amazing. And connecting those first two questions, being Métis, How does that come across in your art and in your creations?
Well, for people who are not familiar with my work, you would know that, I mean, you wouldn't know, but you'd be able to see my work is very grounded in our traditions of beadwork and quillwork and embroidery. Um, our grandmothers and our grandfathers really knew the land like the back of their hand. They knew the waters and they understood the medicines. Understood the interconnection between all living things. And that came out in really vibrant floral beadwork and quillwork and embroidery, which is our artistic legacy, part of our artistic legacy as Métis people. And that's a legacy that I'm carrying on, I suppose, in a modern form. Um, my, I grew up around Métis beadwork and Métis, other nations too, like First Nations items as well. Um, so like moccasins and jackets and you name it, right? The smell of smoked tan hide is still one of my most favorite smells in the whole world. And I grew up around that. And I also grew up with a mom. My mom really loves to garden and my mom really loves plants, and she was the one who told me like that all plants have a spirit. And so those things came together for me um, in my early 20s when I wanted to just do nothing but art. So I started to research beadwork. I started to look it up and just really look at it in detail, find out how it was constructed. I started beading myself, and then I started looking at all the plants, and that took me down a journey of understanding life, I suppose, life on Earth in a way that I never would have understood it before. Listening to elders' stories and learning from people who knew the medicines and those kinds of things took me on this really long journey. It's a lifelong learning journey of plants and medicines and spirituality. And all of these things come together as one into uh, some kind of representation in my paintings. But my paintings are also a call to action. So they are a call for people to love the earth with the deepest parts of themselves and then to stand up for the earth and the waters because the next generations are really going to need it.
It's incredible. As far as your job and your vocation and your practice as an artist, what are some of the opportunities you've been given or doors that have been opened because of that?
So many because um, I remember this one elder. She was telling me, well, two elders. I remember one. She said, you you're going to get a voice. You're going to find your voice. And that in my early 20s, my late teens, I was so shy that I couldn't even speak in public or anything like that. Like I was not shy, but just like really, I couldn't do anything like that. And then I had to do something. She invited me to speak at this public forum, and I think I cried. Like it was terrible. It was very embarrassing. It was like I couldn't control. I was so nervous. And then at the end of it, she says, "You're going to need to suck it up because people are going to need to hear what you have to say, and you need to get better at this." And she sort of scolded me, and it was a good thing. It was from love, and I love her, and so it was all okay. And she was right. So, sorry, what was the question?
Oh, and with that voice you learned to put out there, what are some doors that maybe opened or
Right, the
opportunities you were
doors
given
that
as an artist?
opened. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. And so I learned how to speak, and then my art uh, becomes a place where we can have discussions about the environment, where I can uh, teach in a way. For example, the painting on the sturgeon, I'm able to convey the things that I learned about the sturgeon, which are uh, fastly becoming extinct. They're on some species at risk lists, and the rivers are disappearing. And so we're able to discuss these things, or I'm able to say what's on my mind. Um, so the doors that have opened because of the art have led me to people who are like-minded, and community, and just all that goodness and language. Everything is in there, and so the art has opened a lot of doors that way. And the people that have helped me along the way have, like, our communities are really beautiful that way. When we see someone that's younger with talent, we'll encourage them. We'll buy art from them, like this Yvonne McCrae. She was an elder, an Ojibwe elder. She bought my first painting for, like,
Wow.
I think it was like $100. I wasn't even gonna sell it to her. I was like, "You can have that." And she said, "No, I wanna be the first one to buy your painting." And then one
Wow,
of my
Christy.
second paintings, I sent to Alanisa Bomsawin, and she still has it. And, like, those kinds of things, like, it meant a lot, you know?
Yeah, that's incredible. They have originals
Yeah, they
in their
have, well,
collection.
Yvonne's gone now, but yeah, like, just to know that these older women, these grandmothers, these older women, um, encouraged me by saying, "Hey, I want that. That's beautiful." And Maria Campbell, like, she has for 20 years has encouraged me. And like, when you have older people that will say, "Oh, my girl," or "My boy," or, like, that really is what really you feel, I don't know, a sense of, like, love. You feel loved.
Amazing. And speaking of grandmas or parents on that, and if you ask them who their favorite grandchild is or who their favorite child is, it's a very unfair question to ask.
Mhm.
But I'm going to ask you this: do you have a favorite piece that you've created that you want to talk about?
Oh, I didn't know where you were going with that
Yeah,
question. Like, don't ask me if I'm my favorite, if I'm a favorite, because I don't think that I am. But, like, um, do I have a favorite piece? Not a favorite, but I have pieces where I look at them and I say, "Yeah, you did well on that one." It was constructed well, you took your time. It it is a piece of beauty, and you did well. And that's
that's
about the
amazing.
only thing I ever allow myself to say
Yeah,
about my
amazing.
pieces. Um I don't look at them and say, "Oh, that's good." I look at them
Yeah,
and go, "Oh, I should have done that differently. I see where I'm gonna do something differently next time." So it's always almost like I critique my own work a lot, and,
yeah.
I guess most artists just do that anyway, so, but
Do
that
you
keeps
have any?
wanting me to the next one, right?
Yeah, yeah, pushes you on. Do you put any of your pieces up in your home? Do you have any?
Yeah, I do. They don't normally stay very long. I put them up temporarily. Sorry, there's a car just, or a four-wheeler or something
Oh
going
no.
by.
There we go.
There's somebody that lives on this road, and I swear
Yeah,
every single day they
they
go
just want
right
to be
up.
seen and heard.
They just so they are. So, okay, so, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, I do hang pieces on my walls of my
Yeah,
own art, and then I will sell them or give them
yeah,
away or whatever, so then they'll just rotate out. Like, my walls sometimes are really blank, and they're really empty, and you wouldn't suspect that going
yeah.
into an artist's home, but it is what it is.
Amazing. Is there any artists that you follow that you want to kind of give a shout out to? Any other Métis artists or Indigenous artists that you want to say, hey, check out their work? I'm really loving what they're doing.
Um, there's just so many artists right now who I think are doing really amazing work using modern technology and materials. So, like, Chief Ladybird is, somebody who I follow, and I really admire, because it's not just about their art, it's about their message, and, their body positivity,
Yeah,
and it's something that I didn't see growing up. I'm 55, and so a lot of the, hypersexualization of of girls. A lot of the abuse was hidden. A lot of the stuff, like it was just really, you know, nobody was positive about their body, and you weren't taught to be positive about your body, and so that's one artist that I look up to. Another one is Erin Consmo. She's Métis, and from Lac Saint Anne and Onaway, and they are a two-spirit person who is really taking some of the beautiful traditions, like uh, fish scale art,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
then putting modern twists on it. They have a piece right now that's across, I think it's the Delta Hotel in Winnipeg, downtown Winnipeg, a great big fish that's been printed and put on the side of a building and you can see the fish scale art on there. So they're taking like traditional art and melding it with like digital. That's
Wow.
one person I always really look up to. And Jamie Cobell is also a Métis artist who is doing some original things. Like I really like when people take tradition. I love traditional art. I love like really quality, well-made things. Um, I think every Métis woman does. I don't know.
Yeah.
Every auntie I've ever known really appreciates a really well-made, expensive thing.
Mhm.
I don't know what it is, but we just hone in on like the best quality, and you look at the price tag, and of course it's going to be the most expensive thing in the shop, right? But I also really admire younger artists who are really being brave with speaking out for Two Spirit, trans folks, Afro Indigenous folks. Like people are really, they have the language to use, and they're able to convey it in their art. And I really feel like hope because of this next generation that's coming.
Amazing. Now, those that are Métis that are listening right now, and those that are maybe discovering, what it means to be Métis, they're new to that world, or they may not be Métis and they're listening to the show to learn about the Métis world. Why is it important to showcase and put up Métis art in your home and to celebrate Métis visual pieces?
I don't know,
Okay.
because it's just important to be proud of who you are, proud of where you come from. And it's important to really dive into that, understand all the things that make you up to be who you are. I don't know what to say about that one. That's a hard one.
Maybe I'll ask this. So, as a person, maybe listening to the show, they're walking the streets right now. They're in downtown Vancouver. They're in Saskatoon. They're in Gatineau. They're in Ottawa. Wherever they are right now, listening to this episode, they have the option. They can go to IKEA right now, and they could go because they got a home and they want to put some stuff on the walls. They could go to IKEA, and there's a lot of art at IKEA, right? Like really generic, great stuff, right? Nothing wrong with it, but they can get it and cover their walls. They can go to Home Sense and do the same thing. What's it mean as an artist to have someone buy your piece and to know that it's going to be in their home?
Yeah, well, that feels really good. I mean, if people want to go buy their art at IKEA, they certainly can. I am really of the kind of mindset that people can do what they want and should have the freedom to do what they want and not be
Of
judged
course.
for
Yeah.
what they want.
Yeah. No, nothing wrong with it.
My
Yeah.
sister won't even hang my art up in her house because it doesn't go with her decor. Because she's on this sort of very eclectic pink,
Yeah.
mixing fabrics together, and it just whatever happens, my art doesn't suit her, so she doesn't have it on her wall. So my own sister. So yeah, no judgment from me if you're Métis and you don't have Métis art on your wall. That's up to you. But I will say that when people do purchase a piece off of me or they hang up the artwork, my artwork, I understand that what it's doing is it's a reflection of their own pride that they have of their own ancestors and of the places where they come from, and our traditions and our languages and our all of those things are reflected in that art, and so they see themselves in that art, and that means a great deal to me. because if I can do anything to help a person just connect with that side of themselves that makes them feel proud, then, well, job well done on my part.
Amazing. So I was at a Back to Batoche festival. I'd never been before. I went for the first time this year, and I was in. They have these homes. These little. Each province has a little hut or a kind of a house of sorts. And I was looking at one of the tables, and there was this big kind of box. It was almost like the board game size, and it was teaching you about plants using your artwork. Can you tell us about this? It was do you know of? I assume you know of this, and I can't remember what it was specifically called, but I remember seeing it. It was just gorgeous, and it was beautiful, and it was like education / art at the same time. So tell me about this project.
That's a thing that's published by the Gabriel Dumont Institute in
Okay,
Saskatoon.
nice.
Um, the Gabriel Dumont Institute, I'm just going to plug them for a minute.
Yeah, please.
GDINS.org. GDINS.org. They are an educational institute, but they also have a wing that's publishing,
Oh,
and they publish so many amazing resources.
hmm,
They collect things. They have an incredible museum and art gallery where they've been collecting Métis works for some time. That's right in Saskatoon, and it's it's one of the shining examples of Métis excellence, And I would say if you get a chance to go to the museum or the art gallery at GDI, Gabriel Dumont Institute in Saskatoon, do it because they have it's not large, but it's beautiful. They have a lot of beautiful original works plus historical works. Um, and they have a little shop there where they're selling some of their books and things like that. So, Medicines to Help Us is the publication that we worked on. It's a piece of art that they had commissioned from me, one of the first commissions that I ever got, and they wanted to make it into a resource for teaching. So that box that you referred to is a box of puzzle pieces. It's not really puzzles like a traditional puzzle, but
yeah,
there's these study cards with um, a, like a medicine, a plant
yeah,
on it, a picture from the painting. So the painting is used a- as a way to teach. So each plant is shown on the study card. The name of the plant is in, if we were able to get it, it's in Michif or Cree
yeah.
or Anishinaabe. And then there's a little blurb on maybe some of the medicinal properties of that plant. And then on the back, it's a piece of the overall painting, so that those 8 by 10 cards
Yeah.
or 8 by 11, however big they are, can then be put together on the floor with kids who can piece it together and make it into like a big sort of painting of life size. So that's what that is. Yeah.
I wonder if it's still available through their website, through their
It
gallery.
is, and they even
Okay.
have just the book available too,
Oh,
which is like a little sort of what do you call it? Almost like a field guide.
yeah,
It's very thin. It's not
yeah,
there's not a lot of content there in terms of like if you're already like into plants and you're already into
yeah,
field guides and stuff, this is
yeah.
not going to be an
No, but
addition to
for
your
people like me, like I know nothing, so this would be
right.
amazing. And my kids, I have 4 little children, so that would be amazing for them.
Yes. See
Okay,
that's where it works well. It works well
okay,
with introductions into the plant world.
very cool, very cool. I recently was staying at a Airbnb, and they had these scavenger hunt kits. So it was like a little mini Tupperware with a picture of all these different things for them to find, which included like a plastic piece and a tin piece. So they were like picking up garbage with this game and then finding other pieces that are fallen pieces on the ground. And then they came back and we got to put the garbage in the garbage. But it was so neat to introduce them to plant life for the first time through scavenger hunting.
Hey, that is very cool. That's a great idea.
Yeah, yeah. Where can people find you? Where can they can see your art in Saskatoon, which I'm sad now. I didn't know about that. I was at Batoche all day. I wish I knew about this gallery. Next time I go, I'm going to go. But where can they find your art, buy your art, learn more about you?
Yeah, just to say about the one in
Yeah.
Saskatoon,
Yeah, please.
I've done a series of portraits,
Oh,
and the Gabriel Dumont Institute is the gallery or
yeah.
the institute that owns all of them. I
Okay.
haven't done any portraits outside of. They have the entire collection of all of the
Wow.
portraits I've ever done. So it's
Are
like
they
a real.
living or alive portraits of people?
What's that?
Living or are they living and alive people that you did portraits of?
Some of them are
Yeah.
still living. Yep.
Yeah.
Some of them
Amazing.
sadly have passed away, like
Yeah.
the great Harry Daniels and
Yeah. Yeah.
Steve Powley. And there's
Yeah.
people that they were alive when I started,
Okay.
but
Oh,
they have
amazing.
passed since.
Okay.
Um, no, except for Gabriel Dumont and Louis Riel, I added
Yeah.
those portraits in after, and also a very small one of Jim Brady. So
Okay.
those are there.
Now, did you do L'Oreal full beard or did you do him in his mustache times?
I did beard. I did beard.
Full beard. Yeah.
Yeah, I did full beard with the thick sort of wool jacket.
Yeah. 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 I
Yeah,
like that.
that's
That's
what I
great.
did, and I did Gabriel Dumont older too,
Yeah. Oh,
because
nice.
I just there's something about you know I like it's hard to paint older portraits of people
Yes.
who are older because it's
Yeah.
like our skin is wrinkled and that's a lot more details you got to get in there,
Yeah.
and it's not easy. But I like the idea of thinking about that person, wishing that I could speak to them, asking them on the winter years, the winter seasons of their life, what did they learn? What would they have done differently? Those kinds of
Mm.
things. Knowing now what you know now, what would you have done differently? What is it that you would have put more into? You know, because everybody has those kinds of thoughts, right? Oh, if I had have known that, when I was younger and could run,
Yeah.
that running would be something that I would enjoy later in life, but now I'm getting injured, I would have ran more. Simple
Yeah.
things like that. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
smoked. If I could do a redo, I think that's one of my number one
Mm.
things that I never would have done. I
Yeah.
never would have started smoking.
Huh.
That because I mean I've haven't smoked for 5 years now, and then prior to that, I smoked for 2, and then I didn't smoke for 5
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
But I really would have not
Mm.
done that to myself, you know? So there's things like that, that people would think I would have, been more brave, you know? I would have, visited my
Mm.
family more. I would have
Mm.
asked more questions. Lots of
Mm.
people say that. Nobody ever says, "I wish I had a worked more."
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Wow.
Everybody always says, "I wish I had have sat down with my grandma and asked her
Mm.
questions when I had the chance. I was just too busy. I was
Yeah.
going on with my life."
Yeah.
Everybody says that. So, it'd
Mm.
be interesting to look. I'd love to speak to Gabriel Dumont and
Yeah.
Louis Riel and say, "What really happened?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me what really happened. How was it? You know, what was what were the things that we have wrong in this
Mm.
generation? What did we get wrong about about our history?
Mm.
The idea that we're all separate from First Nations, the idea that we're unilingual, or
Yeah.
that we I don't know, we didn't side with Canada back then.
Did you find your wool capotes or capote jackets itchy?
Well, that
Do you
wouldn't be
have
the
a jack? Do
that
you
wouldn't
have a
be
wool
number
coat?
1 on my list, but yeah, did you freeze your feet off in those moccasins?
Yeah.
Like,
Do
yeah,
you have a capote jacket? Or how do you say it? Capote or capote? What's that? What
I don't know.
do you have one though? Do you have one of those coats?
No.
No. Do you want one?
Uh, well, that's a hard question. I
As a Métis person, do you feel like you should wear a capote jacket because it's like our
no,
traditional jacket?
no.
Okay.
No, and I don't wear a sash either because that's a
Yeah.
man's regalia.
Yeah.
I don't like wearing a sash across my chest, and it
Yeah.
doesn't match anything. The
No.
sash looks terrible no matter what you wear, unless you're a guy and you're wearing it around your waist, then it looks
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I
There you
think
go.
I think men look great wearing
Yeah.
sashes around their waist. I personally think that when women put them on, it
Yeah.
clashes with everything that you have in your closet. Even
Mhm.
when you wear pure black, the
Yeah.
sash looks terrible. There's nothing you can do as a woman to wear a sash that looks nice. But that's
Hmm.
just my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen like a purple sash that I think the BC office did, in honor of women. They did a purple version, and I've seen the Terry Fox version is quite nice. They did a Terry Fox collaborative sash that was quite cool. So,
Yeah, never. I
um,
will never wear a sash as a
yeah,
woman. Plus, it's a men's piece of
yeah,
it's a men's item of clothing, and
yeah.
not
So
not to say
interesting.
that women can't wear it or
Yeah,
anybody can't wear it. I just
yeah.
choose not to.
Interesting fact. I don't know if I told you this, but speaking of portraits, you will have your portrait done by Métis artist Nevada Christensen as part of this podcast series. So I don't know if you've had your portrait
Oh,
done before.
hey, that I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah. Yeah. I got mine done. I didn't know the host was going to get one. And then she gifted it to me because it was done on metal. But I don't know what to do with it now though, because it's in my office and I'm like, I don't want to put it up. It seems like, that seems
Just
strange.
put it up.
No,
Who
but
cares?
then it seems very like when you go on the ferries here in BC, there's the portrait of the Queen on the end of the ferry, or it's like, it seems a bit inappropriate, but maybe I'll find a use for it somewhere, someplace. So going back to the question, where can people find you? Where can they get your art?
Yeah, well, I'm on social media.
Yeah,
So Twitter, Facebook, that's mostly it. I mean,
yeah,
like I check in at Instagram and I look at all the stuff on Instagram, but I very
yeah,
rarely post on there. I'm not
yeah,
on TikTok. I keep putting it on my phone and then I look at it and then I just feel absolutely icky
yeah,
after watching it. I feel just
yeah.
gross. There's something about TikTok that makes me feel just really yuck.
You know
So,
what? To encourage you, it's because it's like cigarettes. Because cigarettes, much like they're addictive, TikTok is famous for its addictive nature.
mhm.
And so, as someone who's maybe had an addiction to cigarettes, you'll know that whoa, I'm experiencing something that is highly addictive.
Yeah, it's addictive and it's too much all the time.
Yeah.
It
Oh
does the
yeah.
thinking for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it takes over your brain and
Yeah.
it's like you're just absorbing and not able to process what it is that you're seeing. There's
Yeah.
a lot of things like that you see that are violent on there
Yeah.
and a lot of things that are not cool, like
Yeah.
this um like the ones that I was looking at. Well, I wasn't seeking it out or anything, but,
Yeah.
there were people that were just for shits and giggles throwing down a whole thing of dollar store glitter into the back of their toilet and flushing, so the
Yeah.
flushes look pretty, and I'm like, "Microplastics into fish,
Yeah.
into the oceans, great."
Yeah.
Like, that there's no consciousness amongst the wider population
Yeah.
and the public about environmental things, even, like, cleaning products,
Yeah.
so you watch, like, people
Yeah.
cleaning their houses, which I think
Yeah.
is sometimes is cool, get tips on cleaning, and
Yeah.
then it's just, like, these products that are so bad for
Yeah.
the environment, and it's just tons and tons and tons of them being used with
Mm.
nobody even thinking about where the water goes afterwards, and
Yeah.
so it just becomes a really depressing thing to witness knowing that, okay, we're in the middle of climate change or a climate
Yeah.
crisis.
Mm-hmm.
The waters are getting poisoned, they're getting depleted, people are running out of fresh water all over the world, and there's corporations who are supplying massive chemicals and plastics such as the glitter and the cleaning products without any consequences whatsoever. The onus is put onto the consumer to
Yeah.
somehow protect the environment, but then you have a lot of people that just are completely unaware
Yeah.
and they just use these things, not putting two and two together, not really
Yeah.
understanding. They might be masters of subjects in their own life, but they're not masters of those ones, and so they just don't have an understanding of what happens when they flush the toilet and when they
Yeah.
put water down the drain, and they don't maybe have never even heard of microplastics before, so it all
Mm.
seems so innocent. So you're watching all of this in real time going, "Yeah, we're screwed," you know?
Yeah.
And so I just
Mm.
don't wanna feel that way.
Yeah.
I wanna maintain, a foundation of hopefulness
Yeah.
and, put good energy out into the world, and
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not doing that when I'm watching TikTok.
Thank you for sharing that. That's helpful. It's very insightful for sure. And I'm going to do the plug then because you are not doing a great job at this, but I'm going to say you go to your website, Christi Belcourt, and I'll say this as someone who ordered art recently. You could go to the website, see some of the artwork there. We'll put the link in the bio and the show notes. And if you email the email that's on the site, they're going to send you the latest catalog of the recent prints that are available with the prices and the sizes. And then you can put an order in, and that's the process to get yourself a Christi Belcourt print. Originals. Do you have originals for sale on your site? I didn't see it. I just saw the prints. Or is it both?
No, and I'm getting a Shopify site to like streamline all to make it
nice.
easier for people to order.
Congrats.
Right now, it's just my daughter and my friend Guy Friedman who's like handling the emails. And
that's who I've been emailing with. Yeah, Guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I just like things low key. I'm not really into like promo and all that stuff. But the originals, yes, I'm going to have a number of originals for sale this fall. But nice. I think that I might already have people on the list that are going to take them all. So what I'm doing is I'm sort of I'm creating a list for people who want originals. And if you want originals, you email belcourtprints@gmail.com and you go on the list. And if in 5 years I have something available and you've made it to the top of the list, because as people buy them, they get removed off the list and whatnot. So eventually you will get an email saying something's available and you'll be given first rights of refusal. Nice. That's the way it's going to go.
Christi, I wish I could show you and just kind of bring you to Vancouver for an afternoon to show you. Douglas Copeland, a Vancouver artist, took plastics that he picked up from the ocean shores because he got offered to commission a piece of the Vancouver Aquarium and did an entire sculpture out of just ocean garbage that was picked up on the Vancouver shores, just to show people, look what happens to plastics and plastics that actually even came over from Japan, and plastics that we had thrown into the oceans. And so it was and all throughout the exhibit was education about what plastic does to our oceans and how the plastic breaks down in the microplastics. So I feel like you two are very kindred spirits in that sense of using art as a way to make education digestible.
I'll look up that piece. Of course, I've heard of him, so I'll look up the piece. If I may have seen it and just not, consciously put that two and two together. Yeah. I think it's the oceans are something that we have to turn our minds to, even for people who live inland, because the oceans supply 50% of the world's oxygen. Most people don't realize that. They think of the oxygen that just comes from trees or plants or whatnot. But 50% of the world's oxygen comes from the oceans, and it comes from the plants within the oceans. All the fish and everything are carbon sinks. And without the fish in the ocean, by fishing out the ocean, they aren't able to do their jobs of absorbing the carbon. And so our oceans are definitely something that we have to turn our minds to and start to speak up for.
Christi, thank you for joining us today. Anything else you want to leave with listeners?
Oh, no, that's it. That's lots. Thanks. Thanks very much for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Everyone, this was Christi Belcourt for the Métis Speaker Series. Check her out more in the notes we put below, in the podcast notes and in the video notes. And we'll see you next time on the Métis Speaker Series. This has been the Métis Speaker Series podcast. I'm Darian Kovacs. Thanks to the Métis Nation of British Columbia for making this possible, with funding provided by the Civil Forfeiture Office's Indigenous Healing Stream. You can listen to all of our episodes, learn more about the podcast, and sign up to the Métis Nation of BC newsletter to stay up to date on Métis news at métispodcastseries.ca. You can find out more about the music we're playing by Love Life by visiting SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/lovelifeofficial, LUVLYF official, and link in the show notes for your convenience. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast listening device. See you again soon. Mina Kawapa Mitten. Thank you, Marcy, for listening.